The New York Trilogy. The New York Trilogy is a series of novels by American writer Paul Auster. Originally published sequentially, City of Glass 1985, Ghost 1986 and The Locked Room 1986, it has since been collected into a single volume. The trilogy is a postmodern interpretation of detective and mystery fiction, exploring various philosophical themes. City of Glass. The first story, City of Glass, features an author of detective fiction who becomes a private investigator and descends into madness as he becomes embroiled in the investigation of a case. It explores layers of identity and reality, from Paul Auster, the writer of the novel, to the unnamed author who reports the events as reality, to Paul Auster, the writer, a character in the story, to Paul Auster, the detective, who may or may not exist in the novel, to Peter Stillman the younger, to Peter Stillman the elder, and, finally, to Daniel Quinn, the protagonist. City of Glass has an intertextual relationship with Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote. Not only does the protagonist Daniel Quinn share his initials with the knight, but when Quinn finds Paul Auster the writer, Auster is in the midst of writing an article about the authorship of Don Quixote. Auster calls this article an imaginative reading, and in it he examines possible identities of Said Hamid Ben Injili, the narrator of the Quixote. Ghosts. The second story, Ghosts, is about a private eye called Blue, trained by Brown, who is investigating a man named Black on Orange Street for a client named White. Blue writes written reports to White, who in turn pays him for his work. Blue becomes frustrated and loses himself as he becomes immersed in the life of Black. The Locked Room. The Locked Room is the story of a writer who lacks the creativity to produce fiction. Fanshawe, his childhood friend, has produced creative work, and when he disappears, the writer publishes his work and replaces him in his family. Paul Auster, the name, does not appear in this story as it does in City of Glass, but Auster breaks the fourth wall by writing about writing of the previous books in the trilogy. I could not have started this book. The same holds for the two books that come before it, City of Glass and Ghosts. He also references clearly autobiographical moments such as his encounter with composer Wyszogrodzki when Auster was a young man in Paris. The title is a reference to Locked Room mystery, a popular form of early detective fiction. Adaptations. City of Glass was adapted in 1994 into a critically acclaimed experimental graphic novel by Paul Karasik and David Mazzucchelli. It was published as City of Glass, a graphic mystery in 2004. In March 2006, published as text with illustrations by Art Spiegelman and an introduction by Luke/Lucy Sant, ISBN 9780143,139,839. In 2009, Audible.com produced an audio version of the New York Trilogy, narrated by Joe Barrett, as part of its Modern Vanguard line of audiobooks. In 2016, Edward Einhorn adapted City of Glass as a play off-Broadway at the New Ohio. In 2017, Duncan Macmillan produced another adaptation as a play, which showed for a short period a home in Manchester before transferring to the Lyric, Hammersmith. It was a co-production between Home the Lyric and 59 Productions. Editions. Auster, Paul, the New York Trilogy. London, Faber and Faber, 1987. The 2006 reissue by Penguin Books is fronted by new pulp magazine-style covers by comic book illustrator Art Spiegelman. Criticism. Books Baron, then I said, Beyond the Red Notebook, Pennsylvania, University of Pennsylvania Press, 1995 paperback. 2 essays on the City of Glass and The Locked Room, respectively. Bloom, Harold ed. Bloom's Modern Critical Views, Paul Auster Broomall, Paul, Chelsea House Publisher, 2004. Several essays on the New York Trilogy. Modern, Brendan Paul Auster's Postmodern Oxford, Routledge, 2008 hardback. Nicole, Brand the Cambridge Introduction to Postmodern Fiction, Cambridge, Cambridge University Press, 2009. Chapter 7, 2 Postmodern Genres, Cyberpunk and Detective Fiction, includes a section on City of Glass.